Hello and welcome back to another episode of a Cozy Christmas podcast. I'm your host, Art, and happy Christmas in July, everyone. We have made it past the halfway point. From here on out, it's Christmas 24/7, 365, give or take half a year. I'm really looking forward to what we have lined up this month on the podcast. I've got some special things coming, and I'll tell you about that at the end of the episode today. Today's episode will be just an interview with the wonderful Sina Skates. You might remember when Sina was on our episode last year. She and the wonderful folks at the Birmingham Children's Theater put together what possibly could be a first of its kind interactive Zoom play called Elves, The Experience. So I invited her back on the show. We wanted to talk about how to keep the magic of Christmas alive throughout the year. And we do talk about that a little bit, but as these interviews tend to do, they get off topic. I really enjoyed my talk with Sina, and I hope you will too. We ended up talking, I think it was almost 2 hours. Not all of it was recorded. We were just chatting and just had a great time talking about Christmas, talking about our lives. Sina is just one of the most wonderful people you will ever meet, and I can't wait. If this is the first time you've heard an interview with her, you're in for a treat because she embodies the Christmas spirit all year long, keeping Christmas alive 365, I think is how she puts it. So I'm going to go ahead and play our interview, and then stay tuned at the end of the episode for a couple of announcements for upcoming events with the podcast this month. Today, we're celebrating Christmas in July. I have on a returning guest with us, Sina Skates, playwright and grant winner of, what was that again?
It was a grant from the Dramatists Guild of America. It was just for personal development.
Okay.
In the pandemic, there were grants being given to artists, and I received a small but helpful grant to continue my work.
Yeah, the pandemic has just been awful on many different levels. So I'm glad that there were things out there helping you continue on in writing plays and personally developing and all that good stuff. So Sina, how have you been since we last spoke?
Well, I've actually been really great. We moved again. So we moved into our new house, and the children are really settling in very well with their schools, and we're doing great. Things are good, and it's good.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm excited to be here because I love Christmas.
So do I. Obviously, you have to do it all year round, right? I don't know about you, but I'm glad things are starting to open up again. I know being a playwright and all that, I think I shared with you, my family is involved in the community theater. They're doing Beauty and the Beast. And my son, he just graduated high school and he landed the part of Lumiere. So I'm really excited about that.
Oh, congratulations. That's a great part. I love that show.
He's tall and skinny. So I said, you got to try. I mean, you're a shoo-in. So sure enough, he got it. So, but he can act and sing pretty well too. So it's just been fun. And then my wife and daughter are part of some background characters in the chorus and things. So they'll be popping in and out, and they try to get us involved in it. But I said, well, somebody needs to be in the audience. So my other son and I, we're going to go and watch and cheer them on. So
well, that's great.
Yeah, they had planned to do it last year, but then they had to cancel because of COVID. So
yeah, I thought I remember you mentioning the play and in our last interview. So I was thinking to myself, is this like a different one? And
I don't remember now. Yeah, I know. Well, my son is involved in a lot of school plays, so that might have been it. But for the school play this year, they did the High School Musical,
Mm.
which I actually hadn't seen the movie or anything. So for me, it was brand new. But yeah, he played. He didn't play the main character, but I can't remember who he was now. But
Maybe one of the students.
yeah, one of the students. Obviously, it was it Shard's brother? They were
Oh,
he was the brother.
really?
Yeah, it was the brother and sister pair.
Oh, that's a big role. That's one of the main supporting roles. That's a
Yep,
good role.
yep.
That's great.
He
Yeah.
it's kind of funny. They said they really wanted those two characters to be strong singers, and so he and the girl he played with are really really good singers. They've made it to all state and everything with their music, and then the main characters, the girl sings really well, but the guy, the one who plays the main guy character, and I can't remember their names, but he wasn't quite as good of a singer. He did fine acting, but so that it kind of took me out a little bit because they're supposed to be better than this other pair and they weren't. And I don't know. I said, Ryan, you were the best singer. I'm not
Yeah.
just saying that because I'm your dad. So Sina has written some plays for the Birmingham Children's Theater. So how's that going? Any exciting plans for this coming Christmas?
Well, funny you should ask. Just last week, I had a meeting with the director and the executive producer of the Children's Theater. And we were talking about, well, what are we going to do? Are we going to, resurrect the elves show? What is it going to look like? And I had already kind of been percolating some ideas in my mind, and basically well, yes, there will be a new elves show. My working title is Elves 2.0, Elves the Experience 2.0. And I think that so this is really in the baby stages, but I'm very excited because it is, June, July. We're in the summer right now. And basically this I have months to put this play together. And last year, we put it together in about 2 to 3 weeks. So it was a very fast process. Normally,
Mm-hmm.
to write a play, even a short play, I mean, these are one act plays, they run about 45, 50 minutes. To write a play like this, whether it has music or not, because musicals and plays, sometimes musicals are easier because there's less dialogue and you can have a song that kind of moves things along. And I
Mm-hmm.
love to write music. Um, so so musicals are sometimes easier than plays because when you're in a play, you have to make it funny, especially for kids.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's kind of like goes on and on and on. And they're like, wait a minute, I need to do something.
Yeah.
So with the script, normally I would take a few months to work on it, and we do some readings, and so now we have that time. So the experience, because it's an interactive, it'll be done online on Zoom, I believe, or some sort of online video streaming
Mm-hmm.
live. It will be interactive. So that's exciting. There'll be activities for the kids to participate to help the elves solve their problem, because I don't know, I mean, I don't know if you've talked to some elves lately, but they're always getting into trouble and problems. Like there's always something going on at the North Pole. You would think with all that magic they would have everything handled, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's a limit. There's a limit to the magic. Certain things, maybe have to be in its place and in a particular way, or, and then sometimes elves kind of think that they can, you know, do things a different way. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't work. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I always love hearing what they're up to. It's always a riot. So
Well, the elves are very busy. And, honestly, North Pole is busy all year round. I mean, there's a little bit of downtime here and there, but
Hmm.
generally speaking, things are pretty busy.
Yeah, I often wondered if they ever get any vacation time or anything. So, or does Santa keep them working all year round? I don't know. I'm sure he gives them some vacation.
Well, I think the elves have a lot of play. I think they
Mm,
have a lot of playtime.
hmm.
So, there's work time and playtime and
Yeah, yeah. Guess that's a good lesson for all of us. There's work time and playtime, and it's
hmm
always fun when the two can be combined. So,
Well, I kind of feel that way with writing shows
hmm.
and writing plays and creating worlds for me
Hmm.
because it's a work
Yeah.
and sometimes it's stressful
Yep.
because you're like, oh, is this gonna work? Like I have this idea in my head, and I have this idea, and I put it on the paper, and I go, okay, well, was it funny? Did it work? Did they get it? Was it connect? And then there's a little bit of trial and error with that, but the the more shows I write, and the more get produced, and the more I'm the way I call it, the more I produce as a writer, even though I don't mean like I'm producing the show. I mean like
Right.
write it. The
Yeah.
more I
Yeah.
write,
Hmm.
to me it feels like a production
Yeah.
internally. Okay,
Yes.
get it out. But the more I write, the more I um the better I get at it. And I see like these writers who are major producers who write, lots of TV scripts and these television writers who are showrunners who are working on so many different shows and all this stuff. I mean, they produce a lot and they can see it and get it very quickly. It's like
Hmm.
any skill that you practice. Like if you're playing tennis, you practice tennis every day. You get better at it. The
Right.
same thing with creating shows, writing shows, creating worlds, working with other creative people, which
Yes.
we're all a little nutty and
Oh
crazy.
yeah. Well, I love it. You got to find your people and embrace them. Yeah,
Oh yeah, for
definitely.
sure.
Yes. I have a specific reason we brought Sina on today. She is full of Christmas spirit 24/7, 365 days a year. I don't know if I've ever met anyone as exuberant about Christmas as you. So we have her on here today. We've been working on this idea to talk about how to keep that Christmas spirit alive throughout the year. It's a message that I love, and I mean I love Christmas. I'm doing a podcast all year round, so got to be some love there. Sina's had some great ideas about how to keep that Christmas spirit throughout the year. As you put it in an email to me that we're keeping Christmas alive 365.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, I like to rhyme. I like to
Yeah.
rhyme.
You gotta, there's a poet about you, huh?
Yeah. Well, I did, and I actually wrote lots of poetry, and I used to perform and tour as a poet, which is a
Mm,
long, sort of another lifetime ago. But we're talking about Christmas. Um, so first of all, I will say this. I've always loved Christmas because Christmas, and I probably have mentioned this before because I mention this every time,
mm-hmm,
is Christmas is a time of miracles and magic. And we talk about the spirit of Christmas.
mm-hmm,
It's a time when families come together to celebrate. It's a time when often things that maybe are not going right, people will put aside at this time, at the holiday, the time of feasting and celebration and all of that. So um, that's why I love Christmas. And it was always, and I grew up in Boston in the North. And and then we spent 5 years in Maine, even further north. And what's interesting in the north, in the northern areas, or even far southern, whatever, hemispheres,
Mm-hmm.
it gets very dark. And Christmas is a time where everything is very dark, but then we bring these lights inside and we light up. Now that I'm living in Birmingham, closer to the equator, it's not as dark and light. You don't see that as much. But that's something for me that looking at that inner light shining and looking at, we light, some people light candles or like Christmas lights or whatever it is that people are doing to create a sense of warmth and brightness in a time of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that the world is sometimes a dark place.
Yeah.
In my writing for children, and if you look at children's stories, a lot of them are very dark. And some of my writing is dark because I think that children understand that too. But that what we do is we look for that light and we look for that brightness to come in. And this, I think, is what attracted me to looking at Christmas all year round as a way of bringing that spirit, that joy, and that light into my life all year round, because I like that. There's no rule that says you can only have Christmas at Christmas. And what is Christmas? Christmas is getting together. Christmas is sharing. Christmas is being with people you love. So all of these things. I will say I do sometimes also sing Christmas carols when it's not Christmas, which might be a little like odd. I have some Christmas carols on my playlist, and we rotate things so on shuffle. So there's going to be some Christmas carols and things like that,
Yep.
and Christmas
Well,
music.
I tell you, no one will judge you here. We all do the same thing. So
Yeah. I have on my car, I can copy CDs like on my library, and I have like 18 different. I always have at least one Christmas. Usually, can I say which album I put on?
Yeah.
Okay. Usually it's Charlie Brown Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
because that sort of, it's not only Christmas. And it was such a wonderful short, film. The music is fantastic. It's very chill, which I like when I'm driving. I like chill music, so I can relax. But it's just, it reminds me of when I was a kid watching the cartoon as a child. And that's something where, I guess personally, I related a lot to Charlie Brown.
Yep.
I did not have, I know I mentioned it on our email, I did not have the most fantastic childhood. And I never really fit in with kids at school. I got bullied, and it's not a secret, and I spent a lot of time by myself at home. And that process, to me, is kind of what fed into me becoming a creative person, doing a lot of making up stories and things like that, because it was just me and my dolls or my stuffed animals, and I would make stories and write stories. So,
Yeah. Speaking of that, it's something you told me in the email, in one of the emails. I really like this quote, so I'm going to share it if that's all right.
Sure.
You said, I think that's why I love to write, because you get to choose your own endings and create the world as you would like it to be. And I just, boy, that's given me a lot of food for thought. So that's wonderful.
Yeah. And I think that that's what my imagination took over, and why, for me, in all of my shows that I've written, and my first show I ever got produced was a Christmas show called 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. And it was about a mouse and a squirrel who were best friends. And the mouse decides that it's Christmas, but the mouse decides it wants to go live in the city, to go find shiny things. Because squirrel gives mouse a Christmas present of a shiny bottle cap, and then the mouse wants to go find more shiny things. So the lesson or the moral or whatever is, friendship is more important than things. And I think that for me, not having a lot of friends growing up, which might be surprising because like, oh, she's so fun and nice and
everybody likes her.
And outgoing and creative. But this is the thing. When you're a kid and you're a little wackadoo or whatever you want to call it, a little crazy or, I didn't fit in when I was a kid. So, but then I realized, I'm an artist. I'm a creator. And often we kind of fit in with other people who create. And I think that that's where, okay. So I also this will be connected, I promise.
Okay, no problem.
I found my tribe in other creative people. This is my tribe. And I was saying one of the things important about keeping Christmas alive, 365, is you got to find your tribe. Find other people who like Christmas just as much as you do. And then it becomes a way easier to like,
to be yourself.
To have Christmas, to geek out over Christmas things. So one of my first jobs after college is I worked for an organization that had a Christmas store. Okay. It was a pop-up. Popped up. It was a retreat. They did this. It was called Living in Grace was the retreat. And, but they would make this Christmas store, huge Christmas store. And I worked in the products department, all the things that we sold. And I got to go buying at the Christmas markets in Los Angeles, the big markets. Okay. So we're talking like a whole room of just angels, a whole room, giant room of snowmen. Okay. Christmas trees, little Christmas trees, big Christmas trees, everything. I mean, candles, mechanical moving pieces and parts. I mean, the Christmas market, which happens in July, or at least it used to, in the LA LA big markets. Oh my gosh, it was awesome. So we would buy all summer long for Christmas. And then the packaging would come in September, October, November. We'd label everything. I got to handle every single little tiny snowman, every single little tiny tchotchke thing, and put the sticker on it. And I'm like, oh, I actually bought a couple of things for myself. And it's a little, it's a little Noah's Ark, but it's a Christmas Noah's Ark. And I put it lives in my car, in my center console, and it's there. I keep it with me. And then I would play Nat King Cole's version of I saw three ships come sailing in on Christmas Day. And I have a little boat, actually, I don't know if it's a Noah's Ark or it's a little boat it's something, I have to look at it again. Okay. It's either a little Noah's Ark or a little boat with fishes. I don't know, but it's Christmassy. I know that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So finding your tribe, and I'm not saying that everybody needs to work at a Christmas store. And of course, we would listen to Christmas music all year round in the warehouse while we were labeling the Christmas the Christmas things. And I had, it was a nonprofit organization, so I had lots of volunteers. So they would come in and we would listen to Christmas music, all of us. So in that sense, listening to Christmas music, labeling Christmas gifts to be
Yeah.
sold, and having other people who were just like, look at this, oh, look at this, and that I think helps. And then the other part of the tribe are the people who I watch movies. I watch
Hmm.
lots of Christmas movies, and then, they also watch movies. And so, any any time of year, if I'm feeling down, if I'm having a hard time, if I'm feeling like I'm in the dark of winter in my soul, I mean, not to say there's winter in my soul, but, if there's a time where I feel that loneliness or sadness or, things happening in the world that are just so difficult to grapple with, that's the time when I go to, okay, I'll watch a Christmas movie. I'll listen to a Christmas music.
Mm.
I have, well, you can't see, but I have a drawer in my desk dedicated to Christmassy things. I have I have Christmas things everywhere around me,
Sure.
little stuffed animals or whatever. And it's not, I mean, if you looked at my house, it would look like a regular house. These are
Hmm.
small things. These
Hmm.
are things just for me, right? This is not, although I did have a friend who had their house decorated for Christmas all year round. She
Wow.
did it. She does her own Christmas show.
Sure.
Yeah. So she's very much into Christmas like me.
Wow. Sounds like my hero.
Yeah. Yeah. Her house had a Christmas tree in every room, and they would do a video production. So
Mm.
they and cable access, and their family had been doing this Christmas show for like 40 or 50 years here
Hmm.
in Birmingham, and it's pretty. Oh, I should get you her. Oh, you would
Yes.
love to interview her. Oh my
I was
gosh.
just thinking that. Yeah.
Yes. And she's very exuberant like me. We're
Okay. That's awesome. I'd love to. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Oh yeah.
If she's up
I
for
was
it.
like, well, yeah. She's a world traveler, so she's always. I think she was in Aruba this week.
Oh, oh
So
wow.
yeah, she is literally a world traveler. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
No, I love that idea of finding your tribe. That's something that I really discovered maybe a couple years ago. We I started listening to podcasts, and then I thought there's got to be a Christmas podcast out there. And lo and behold, I found not one but several, and I got to be a part of that community and found the people that like Christmas the way I do. In fact, some like it even more than I do. And then it just inspired me this last year to start my own podcast and join in even more with that community. And it's just wonderful when you find people who, um, maybe I don't hope it's not inappropriate to say it this way, but we say a lot that representation matters, and to find, Christmas people who love Christmas like I do, and to see them do things publicly and all that. I don't know. It's like, this is inspiring. And I've gotten to meet some great people like yourself through this podcast, and it's great.
Well, and I think that's the thing. If you are somebody doing something and you're the only one doing it, and you don't see anyone else doing what you like,
Mm-hmm.
then it makes it more difficult to follow that passion or impetus to go do something, right? But when you see other people like my friend brought this huge, gorgeous Christmas dress that looks like a Christmas tree. And
Mm-hmm.
she loves it, so she can share that with me. And I go, that's amazing. Look, it's a Christmas tree dress.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's
Yeah.
amazing. I love it. It's so beautiful. And it was like, I don't know, $300. It's like, I can't afford that Christmas dress.
Yeah.
Oh, but I love that you got it. This is not my friend in Aruba. This is another friend
Right.
who lives out in California. But I think that and what's great is connecting with people either through a podcast or online or however you connect with people. And then you say, oh, well, maybe that's not so weird that, I love Christmas cat sweaters. I mean, real specific, because I love cats too, so it's like we can get really specific about what we like and what we enjoy. And then when you see other people doing it, you're like, oh, okay, I'm not so different. And
Yeah.
I think that, let's say, when I was a child growing up, and I was a little different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a child and you're in a small group with maybe a small town or wherever, I say I grew up in Boston, but it was a smaller town outside of Boston. But, so it can be hard to fit in when you're younger, when you're a child. But then as you get older, you're like, oh, look at this great big world out there. And there's one person who likes to do these things, and there might be other people. And then it creates more of a freedom, and you get to learn things from other people,
Yeah.
For example, the other week, I actually lost a bit of cash. Okay. I don't want to say how much it was, but it was a few $100s in cash that I had misplaced it. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm having It's a Wonderful Life moment. I misplaced the cash.
Yes. Yeah.
and so I posted on Facebook, right? I posted online. I posted online that I'm having It's a Wonderful Life moment. I lost my cash.
Oh,
I had a
no.
big stack of cash, and I think we were planning a trip or doing something, and I, this is not something I wanted to misplace. But then when I found the cash, then I posted a little, Mommy's teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. And so I was able to post that because I found it. The bell is ringing.
Yeah, right.
I found the cash. It was,
It's right where you left it.
well, it wasn't where I left it, but I did. I guess it was
good.
where I left it, but not where I meant to leave it.
I do that all the time with like everything. So,
but I think that's how I keep Christmas alive, because I'm continually referencing back to things like that in my life. And of course, now that I'm writing a new Christmas show, over the summer, I'll be thinking about Christmas all summer, which is great. Yeah. It works perfectly for me,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's so important. It's so good to keep that spirit alive. I think of one of my favorite books, The Christmas Carol. Scrooge says, I will keep Christmas in my heart the whole year. And that's what we try to do. But, we also acknowledge that Christmas isn't always a happy time for everyone. You and I both have had difficult Christmases, and I love how you have taken that and, basically said, you know what, it doesn't have to be this way. And I'm going to bring cheer into my life and into those around me all year long. And I love that. For me, some really difficult Christmases happened. It was, I was a young teenager, and my parents had divorced, and, my dad wasn't in the picture for a while, and Christmases were just gloomy affairs, and we didn't have a lot of money and all this stuff. And I was angry, and on top of all the things that a teenager goes through when, they're 13, 14, 15, and their brain is just misfiring on all that. For me, it was a couple of things that were helpful. It was my sister just loves Christmas, and she just had that spirit of joy all the time. And then I finally sat down and read A Christmas Carol. And that was like the thing that ignited me to realize, you know what, I can change, and I can change my experiences, and I can change my outlook. It seems silly to say about just a book, but it really had just a life changing impact on me that very few books have had. And I love that idea that in spite of the difficult things that have happened, we don't have to let that define us. And I don't know if that's going to help anyone who's struggling at Christmas time, because, there are some really difficult things that have happened to people that make that time of year painful.
Yeah. And I think that, for me, I was much younger than my brother and my sister by quite a lot. And I think that one of the things that I remember as a child, very young, is watching Miracle on 34th Street, the movie. And just, it really struck me. I think I really related to that little girl who just wanted a miracle in her life. And every Christmas, I just had this place in my heart. I believed there'd be a miracle. And most Christmases, there wasn't a miracle, we did not have a Christmas tree in our house, and the presents were wrapped with newspaper. So, that was kind of most of my Christmases. My fingers would turn black from the newspaper,
Yeah.
And some of the memorable presents I remember getting was sticky note paper and a mug, which, I like sticky notes still to this day. They're especially the colorful ones, maybe some pens and paper and things like that. So I think that looking back on these memorable presents, now that I'm a writer, I guess, that was the miracle that, like, here's some more paper and pens. Go have fun.
I'm going to go write a story.
Yeah. Go write a story to entertain yourself. And then later, many years later, as an adult, my grandmother actually passed away on Christmas Eve. So Christmas is not always a happy time of year. And I think that with the story with Scrooge, as much as we look at the abundance and the sharing and the gifts and the food and the coming together, sometimes there are people who are alone, or people who don't have the means to be lavish or have a big meal, which is what that whole story, A Christmas Carol, is all about, And I think that, for me, that always goes back to the intangible of Christmas, that it's not, and that's been the message in all of my plays for children. It's not the things that's important. It's not the gift. It's the friendship. And it's how we feel about ourselves. As a child growing up with not a lot of self-esteem and not a lot of support or reflection from my environment that, let's say, I'm a good person, or I'm smart, or I'm pretty, or whatever those things are that fill my self-esteem, of how I feel about myself. So I think that that's what's so important in my writing, to imbibe that. So whatever the things were that I would say to my younger self, those are the things that I put in these plays. That's why I say I get to write the story. I get to create the problems, but then I get to solve them. And these were things as a child I could not solve. Children, children really cannot solve problems. And but as an adult and as a creator, as a writer, I absolutely can solve the problems. And this is why I love Christmas. I love Christmas movies because it is all about there's a problem and how do we help? How do we come together? How do we solve the problem? How do we go from a place of feeling lost or alone or bereft or left or whatever to a place of community, love, involvement, togetherness, all of that. So, this is like the hero's journey going from point A to point B. And this is like also on a more esoteric level, how I see my journey as a human being on the earth, if that's okay to say.
Oh, yeah.
But like, this is my journey of not only finding my place of belonging as a human being, but then also creating that space for more people to belong with me in that tribe, right? But then also, as I create these shows and create these worlds where other people can belong with me. So I'm not alone anymore. I got all these kids and all these imagination worlds and the imaginary places that are being created. So I absolutely love all of that.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I mean, that's, these are things, like you said, I wish I could have told myself, years ago, that kind of similar experiences, was bullied, I was awkward, I was, this and that. And then when you find your people, you find yourself, and you realize, I might not fit the mold of what everyone thinks I should, but I am who I am, and I like who I am now. and you can make fun of me for listening to Christmas music in August. That's fine. I've got friends who tell me I'm okay. So that's fine. I don't know if it's normal, but it's okay.
Well, and I think that when I think of normal, I always hear, well, normal is boring.
Yeah.
And that's in a show, like in a TV show, you don't see them get up and brush their teeth and wash their face and brush their hair and all that. You don't see all that. You see what is highlights the important bits, the interesting bits. There's a lot of normal out there in the world. And what I want to do is create something that will bring more light into the places of darkness, which is, I think that's what I said on the last podcast, but that's maybe my mission in life. So it's not going to change. I'm still going to bring light into the places of darkness. And that's why, that this is like quintessential Christmas. It is quintessential Christmas. And it is something that is, there's no reason. I know that we have kept Christmas lights up, just nice white lights, Actually, we still have Christmas lights in the house. I totally forgot. Yeah, we always have a string of white lights plugged in. It's been years. I'm not even aware that I'm doing this, but I like it. I find them to be pretty, but also, it's maybe that connection that,
I keep meaning to do something like that, like find somewhere I can just put up a little strand of lights and just a little Christmas reminder that if I need it, it's there. Right now I have a pine candle. It's from Walmart. It's an alpine forest, but I love the way it smells. So if I
Mm.
need some Christmas, I just light that up and I'm
Oh,
ready
I
to go.
love
So
it. Oh, I have so this is my Christmas candle. I know the
mhm.
viewers can't see it, but it's actually was a ball. Like it's a large circle and it's painted gold, green, red, a little purple, and it was in the pattern of a Christmas bulb that you
Mm,
would hang on a Christmas tree. So this is my candle, and it burnt out, but then I put little tiny tea lights inside. So this is what's holding. And then I have like a little, I also have like a little angel sometimes that holds it. So I put the candle and a little angel, and
mhm.
and um, that lives on my desk as well as the
Yeah.
things in the drawer, my little Christmas drawer.
That's that's a great idea. Yeah, what I like about the candle is it reminds me of a some kind of air freshener or something we would use when I was real little at Christmas time. So it just brings back all those nostalgic feelings, of being a kid and of Christmas. And so sometimes my son will come by and take a sniff of it and he's like, I need a Christmas hit,
Oh,
sniffs the candle and I'm like, okay, but that's the only thing you're allowed to sniff. But yeah, yeah, we share that love of Christmas with my kids and all that. So yeah, it's there when you need it. And I like, you had that idea of just putting little things around your house. I still have a Christmas picture hanging up in our living room. I don't know if my wife's noticed it yet. She probably has. But it's the way our house is. There's where I sit in my chair, there's a little outcrop of a wall. And so I can look over and see this picture. And it's something I bought last year. It's a big reproduction painting of one of the illustrations from A Christmas Carol. It's the Ghost of
mm-hmm.
Christmas Present, and you recognize probably, Scrooge is standing there and you've got the big jolly giant, which is
Mm-hmm.
the things he tells Scrooge, I think, are the most profound things in the story. But so I can sit there and see it. And where my wife sits, the wall is kind of like behind her and off to the side. So I don't know if she sees it as often, but if she listens to this now, she'll know it's there. But
And
I don't.
did you see the movie, The Man Who Invented Christmas?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
mean, of course, right?
Of course.
But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like,
You bet.
I saw it though it was not at Christmas. I had so many
Mhm.
movies to see at Christmas. We saw that, I think it was February, March, I don't know, but it was fantastic.
Yes.
And I have to admit, I kind of related to the whole, schizophrenic
Yeah.
little bit with how my characters live inside my head, but they're not like corporal projections. They're not that
Right.
real.
Otherwise, you need to see a doctor, I guess.
Well, I don't
But
know. I mean, if you're functioning,
yep.
as long as they're helpful and
There you
help
go.
you put the story together, it may be okay.
Yep. Yep.
Don't say
Absolutely.
anything. Stop talking. I'm still doing the interview.
Yeah. I know some writers who authors who have saw that and said that this is so true to life, that the characters are like hounding you and mocking you and all this.
Well, my characters do not mock me. I will say that.
Good. They
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 don't
behave
mock
themselves.
me. Yeah. And really, they mostly ignore me. And I'm like, come on. What you say next? What do you say next? What am I supposed to write next? Come on, show up.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, I'm not in the mood. And they just like leave. And I'm like, no, come back, come back. We're not done. We're not done. I need to know what happens next.
Yeah.
So,
Do sometimes your characters surprise you and take the story off in a different direction, or do they pretty much listen to you when you're
um, I'm thinking, I don't know that I've ever really been surprised by a character. Sometimes when I'm writing and I'm in the flow of writing, and the scene is completed, I look back and I'm like, well, I didn't think it was going to happen like that. So, but
Mm-hmm.
normally when I'm writing, I have a sense of beginning, middle, end. I have a sense of here's where we're starting. Uh-oh, something happens. Here's where we're ending. Okay, this is our resolution. And then here are a couple of points I want to hit along the way. So it's kind of like connect the dots, except sometimes the dots move around a little bit, and then sometimes it's not a straight line. So I think if I'm making an octagon and it becomes a hexagon, or it becomes a circle, or it's some sort of other polygon something.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't always look exactly what I think it's going to look like. But then I'll go back to, the director or editor, go back to them and say, hey, I know we talked about this, and then this is what happened. So where do you think we go from here? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is working? What's not working? Get the feedback. And then it's like, okay, well, that was fun. That was a fun draft. The first draft is just the first draft. What worked? What didn't work? What can we make better? What do we need to change?
Mm-hmm.
And then the editing process, which is just like, you start with a lump of clay, and then you're like, all right, I'm going to make a person. Okay, here's the head, here's the shoulders, there's the nose, ears. Okay, now what kind of hair does this person have? Then we get into more details. So it's still roughly what it's going to be,
Mm-hmm.
but how and okay, in the movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Particularly, I'm going to mention Elf. We didn't get to I don't know, kind of might be running out of time. I didn't get to mention all my favorite movies, but that's a good
Sure.
example of, especially these Christmas comedies, they will take multiple takes of the same scene
Mm-hmm.
where they're just riffing on lines, making up lines,
Mm-hmm.
and then they pick one of them that's the funniest. And I think that's kind of the same thing with writing. You have a draft, say, okay, how is that? Now let's try another draft. Let's try another draft. Let's try another draft. Sometimes it gets worse. Sometimes it gets better. But in the end, you kind of say, okay, let's take this and this. Or like a comedian who's putting together a set. They're going to try different jokes. They're going to try
Mm.
different
Yeah.
jokes in different orders. They're going to say, okay, if I put this first or this second, or if I switch that around, it's really the same thing in writing a show, where you're looking at how can I build it and arc the show. So we have that beginning, middle, and end. And we carry the energy throughout, where there's nothing that lags, nothing that feels like, oh, that was slow.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so this show we're working on is going to be way better than the last show, which was the last show was good.
It
It
was
was
really
really
good.
good.
Yes,
And this is going to
absolutely.
be even better because I'm going to have more time. Because I will say, last year's show, there's still 2 pages that I would change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't have that much time. I couldn't
Right,
change it.
right.
But it's like, oh, that just this lags. Like I can feel it lag. It lags for like 1 minute. And I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
if we had 6 months, we would have fixed that minute
Mm-hmm.
and made that spectacular like the rest of the show. So anytime you're sitting in your show, you're sitting in an audience, you're like, oh, that was kind of lagging, right?
Yeah.
Those are the moments that if I had put a joke, do a something, change something around. But what's interesting, it's like a dominoes. When you're writing a show, you pick a domino, you can't just remove it. You have to adjust all the other dominoes, or you have to put something else in its place. Otherwise, then you're like, there's a hole.
Or you bump it and the whole thing falls down.
Yeah, I know. So,
Yeah.
it really has to flow. And it got to the point where you know, Alex, the director, was saying, I think we need to change this. I was like, no, it's too late. I don't want to change anything else, because if I change this, it could make the show worse. And I
Yeah.
didn't want to make the show worse. But now we got plenty of time to make the show better, make the show worse, make it better,
Hmm.
make it worse, and come out with a even more fantastic product than what. And last year's show really, I mean, we sold out every show between Thanksgiving and Christmas,
Oh,
and then
neat.
extended it after Christmas for another week. So it was fantastic. It did
Good.
really well. So
Sina, just to ask one more question here. What are you hoping for this Christmas? What's whether it's a present, an activity, an event?
well, last year, December 21st, we moved into our new house. So we did not get a full on Christmas tree situation. So we got a little potted Christmas tree, and it held on for as long as we could, but it died a couple months ago.
Hmm.
They're not really built for Alabama
Hmm.
in the summer. As much as we tried to follow our directions, it did not survive the the Alabama summer here. So I'm looking forward to a really beautiful Christmas tree. And this year, I think that we may be doing some kind of angel gift. Um, as our children are getting older, there's
Hmm.
less things that they really want. So
Hmm.
we may be doing some type of service project or something like that. We've been kind of leaning in that direction. And as our children are aging older, different types of rituals or celebrations, or, normally at Christmas, we give a gift to a local shelter or something like that. But we're
Hmm.
thinking about kind of shifting from receiving presents to more of giving and giving back. So, and that's just something that we're kind of in process with. So it'll be interesting to see how that manifests this year. And of
Yeah,
course,
that's
I'm
awesome.
looking forward to my new Christmas show,
Yeah, me too.
Elves
Me too.
2.0. Oh, that rhymes. So I'm looking forward to my new Christmas show, Elves 2.0.
Brand new poem. heard here, heard here first. Yeah, my daughter Grace and I watched it last year, and it was really fun.
Mm.
Well, we'll have to have you back on when it gets closer to being out. We'll get you some promotion and see if we can. I think last year it was really we were scrambling at kind of the last minute, as were
Oh yeah.
you. Yeah,
Oh
but
yeah. Oh yeah. And Alex, he's coming back. The
okay,
plan
good,
is for him to come back to
good.
direct the show. I think we'll have some of our elves coming back as well, and maybe some new elves.
Hmm.
So and maybe yeah, it should be lots of fun.
The elves were fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Yes,
yeah.
yes. So I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. All right. Well, we'll have to have you back on. We can talk more about Christmas later too, and
Yeah, there's
just
just so much to talk about. I
I
feel like we
know,
could be here all day, and you know, um, oh my gosh, like I have so many more notes of things even
I
after
know.
I sent you that long email. Like, oh, Christmas? We didn't even talk about the Christmas network and I mean the whole thing. So, the
Yes,
Santa
yes.
network, the Santa network,
The
okay?
Santa Network.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I'll have you back on in maybe a couple months. We'll talk about the Santa Network because I have
Well, I
questions.
would love to. It's always a delight to talk with you, Art. Thank you so much for having me back.
You bet.
And yeah, I mean, I feel like I could do this every day. And I kind of do, because I do chat with my friends and I tell them what I'm up to every so often. Like,
Hmm.
oh, I did this today. Oh, I did that today, did this little Christmassy thing and all that. And we just have a
Hmm.
little smile And that's always nice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, best of luck to you, Sina. And I hope your creative juices start flowing and we can get a good Christmas play this December.
Oh
So
yeah, no, it's already, yeah,
it's
it's gonna
going
be great.
good.
I'm
Oh,
so
I can't wait.
excited.
I can't
Yes.
wait. I might be the only one watching it, but I'll watch it. So no,
You mean at the Christmas show? We're expecting to sell out again for sure. Yeah,
great, great.
yeah. But maybe we'll have you for one of our previews. That would
Yeah,
be great. You come see
yeah.
one of the works in progress. That's always a little hairy. But once the show gets up on its feet, it is fantastic.
All right. Well, you take care, and I guess Merry Christmas.
Aw, thank you. Merry Christmas to you.
Thanks again, Sina, for coming on the show. We will have you back on if our schedules can line up. Thank you for sharing the light of Christmas. Because of the length of the interview and for what I have coming up, that will be all for our program today. A couple things about what's coming. Because this month I have a special 4-part story I'll be reading for you. And I'll be releasing those on Fridays for the month of July. The story is called The Christmas Hirelings by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. Maybe that's a story that you've heard of, maybe not. I find that a lot of people are unfamiliar with it. Mary Elizabeth Braddon was a popular Victorian writer, and she's best known for her novel Lady Audley's Secret, which is a great story. And she lived from 1835 and died in 1915, so she was a very long-lived writer. And she ended up writing more than 80 novels. And I've read a couple of them, and they're pretty good. Most of them are of like a gothic nature or a mystery type story. And this one, The Christmas Hirelings, is very different from what she usually wrote, or at least from what I've mostly read by her. This is a heartwarming Christmas story of redemption and of cheer. And according to the book description, it says, it is the story of a lonely widower who reluctantly invites a group of children to his manor for Christmas. It showcases the benefits of opening your doors and hearts during the holiday season. It's very Victorian, which I love, but it's so beautifully written. I don't know, it's just right up what I like in a Christmas story, that idea of redemption. Most of us are very familiar with the story of Christmas Carol, and what's fun is that this story kind of addresses that story in some offhand remarks and some different allusions to it, but it is on its own, its very own story. I can't wait to read that for you. So those will be released on Fridays of the month of July. And you don't have to subscribe to anything else. This will just come right into your podcast feed if you are subscribed on one of the many ways you can get those podcasts. And in addition to that, then I'll be releasing normal episodes on Mondays of July. I've got a couple interviews lined up. And then coming up on July 12th, so next week, that's going to be my podcast's 1-year anniversary. And I would really love it for you who are listening to send me a greeting, send me a note, send me a voicemail, something that I can play on the show or read. That episode's going to be probably pretty long. One of the reasons I'm dividing up all the episodes this month is because maybe some of you don't care if you get a 2+ hour episode every week, but to me that feels a little long, so I'm just kind of dividing it up. So this month in July, you can begin and end your week with a cozy Christmas podcast. And I don't know about you, but that sounds like a wonderful way to spend July. I posted on my Facebook page some pictures of the coaster cozies that my sister made. As I've described it, it's like a warm Christmas sweater for your coffee cup. And if that's something you'd like a chance to win, there are several ways you can enter the contest. Liking or sharing the Cozy Christmas Podcast social media accounts, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, that will automatically get you entered in. Also, if you can leave a review on on iTunes or Apple Podcast or whatever they're calling themselves these days. That is such a great way to help the show out. And if you've done that, let me know. Just send me an email, a text message, slide into my DMs, whatever that means, and let me know you've done that, and I'll get you entered into the contest. Then another way you can help, or you can be entered into the contest, is to send me a Christmas story. Perhaps it's a story that happened to you, a favorite memory, a favorite tradition. I'd love to hear those, and I'll share them on the podcast and get you entered into the drawing. And then finally, if you want to help the show out in a financial way, you can go to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/Cozy Christmas. And for a $3 donation, you can help support the show, as well as being entered 3 additional times into the Coaster Cozy contest. All right, so enough rambling, enough talking from me. I've got a story to read, so I'm looking forward to bringing that to you on July 9th. Be on the lookout there for the first part of the Christmas Hirelings by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. And so in the meantime, be kind to each other and do good. And remember that there is nothing in the world so irresistibly contagious as laughter and good humor. Have a very Merry Christmas.